This one's pretty bad. This one's pretty bad. And this one's really bad. Apparently it's fueled by natty light. Alright, welcome back. This is going to be part 2 of working on the John Deere 70 excavator. This video is going to focus more on updating this machine than making major repairs. There will be some smaller repairs in the machine. So if you didn't see part 1, check it out. The link will be up at the top. Otherwise, get comfy, enjoy the video. So the factory lighting on this machine kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. So this is kind of what I came up with. We got 4 LED lights on top of the cab. There will be a light that goes factory. There's this light here, which was the only one that worked, that goes inside this cage. So I'm going to replace it with this LED light. It'll fit in there. And since we're putting lights on the roof of the cab, I'm going to put up on top facing rearward. Probably at an angle, something out this way. It might look a little goofy, but it'll light up the rear of the machine. I'm normally not a fan of these lights, this style of lights, but these ones my buddy gave them to me, and they are really bright. Normally these ones are pretty cheap and have like a bluish color to them. These ones, I don't know what brand or where he got them. I know they came off Amazon from somewhere, but they work really well. I mounted some on my lowboy trailer and they're good. But the reason we're up here right now is this drip edge here is all bent. I want to make it more like that. That'll work. Nice. Try that again. All right, we just gotta repeat that 3 more times. All right, there we have it. Got all the wires tucked in. Put one light in the rear. Got this little guy mounted in there. We got this wire tucked nicely in here in the window seal. We're gonna make the connection back there. And I've decided that I'm gonna remove this light, but I'm gonna put something back because I think it'd look weird if it was just bare, and I'm not gonna be able to match this paint if I cut that bracket off, so we'll put another light there. Probably something similar to the one we put in there. Got a new cable run up the boom. Just gotta hook it in here. Clean this up. Got this light mounted here. The old lights were self-grounding up here. I don't want to do that. I want everything to be grounded at the same point. That way it's easier to troubleshoot if something goes wrong. So we're gonna make a spot down there along the main frame to ground both sets of lights out. Got our new cable here. All right, we just gotta zip tie this up and then we'll be in good shape here. Oh boy, should definitely be able to see in the dark now. See this spot here is off your boom light, so that's aimed just about right. Should follow your bucket. Those are bright. And this little guy over here, it's more for looks, but you know, should be able to see pretty good out front. It's kind of hard to tell how much light the back one puts out because we got a window right there, but I think it'll be good enough. But the thing I want to work on next is going to be the muffler. I don't have it yet. I ordered one. Well, I ordered one that we're going to modify. So I think for now we're going to take these panels off and the hood and see what we're working with. So it looks like we just unbolt the hinges here and then take this weird shaped panel here, and that should give us full access into that area. I have a feeling this is not going to be light. It's actually not that bad. Okay. Wow, look what showed up. A nice muffler. So it fits in there perfectly. But our engine's on that side of the muffler, not this side. So we need to do a little bit of modification, and then we'll be in good shape. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to cut this off, spin it, and run it into the downpipe there. You can just see behind the muffler. So I think in order to do this properly, we're going to have to try and get these really rusty bolts off. It didn't break. It is spinning though, so that's good. Upon further investigation, we decided to take a different approach, and we're just going to cut them off. After some risky business with a chisel, it looks like there we go. I don't really like using Sawzalls, but I think that was the best way to get a true cut on there. Alright, it's a day or so later. I ran out of time that night, and I now have this figured out how we're going to do this. So, coming off the bottom of the manifold, we're going to reuse this piece that they built out of pipe fittings. Run over here into this 90, go up. And that will give us enough space to enter this into the inlet of the muffler. Okay, we got this simulated right here as if the exhaust would be here coming out of the engine, and the muffler inlet's going to be here. Now this is all I was going to weld this all solid, so the only way to take the whole unit off would be to unbolt it from the manifold, and I don't really want that. I want this piece to be separate from the muffler. So I took our old exhaust tip, and it's the same diameter as this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld a stub of this piece into the muffler, and we'll put a band clamp here. That way we can always replace the muffler or remove parts as needed, plus it'll make assembly a lot easier. If you guys don't have a cold cut saw, you need to get one. These things are pretty awesome. Man, It's not super crucial that it's straight, but it'd be nice if it was. Looks like a good shim. Alright, we gotta fit this piece in here. I'm just gonna tack it for now. So we're trying to do some test fitting. Alright, I'm gonna go test fit this and I will be right back. That last test fit was real close. This one here should be spot on. Well, there it is. That's a perfect fit. So let's get this welded out. Okay, well, I got you guys positioned here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see all this or not, but we're going to try and get it so you can see most of what's going on here. Because there's really nowhere to put you. So, get our muffler dropped in here. All right, that's in place. And now down below, we'll fish in. Oh, we need this. We need to put that on there. We'll fish in our custom exhaust pipe that we got going on here. Okay. All right, we'll get that in there. Throw one of our threaded rods in there, so we can kind of get that in place. Like I said, I'm sorry you guys probably can't see this, but I'll get you a shot of it when we're done. Okay, so looking down in here from the top, exhaust manifold, our 90-degree contraption, and our elbow goes up into the bottom of the muffler here. Well, it's ready for a first fire up. Oh man, that thing's quiet now. It actually kind of sounds like an excavator should, not like a straight pipe tractor. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys seen this muffler bouncing around. Not a big deal. I do have the U-bolts put on that, so, but I didn't want to do that yet until I have that fully bolted down. I don't have the bolts for that. So you just go in here like this, and there's holes down there they go into. Give it a little bit of a squeeze to fit them in there. Yeah, those will work just fine. Ooh, buddy. This thing is gonna be nice and quiet. Especially once you point that exhaust behind you. I mean, heck, you couldn't hardly hear it in the cab before. It was kind of strange. It almost reminded me of like a Deere 120. But I'll get the bolts to properly bolt that manifold down, or manifold together. And we'll just double check our fitment on everything. Make sure nothing's rubbing or binding. Then we'll get this all clamped down and we'll put her back together. So it's the next day here, and a little sneak peek. I just got done tinting this machine, but let's get working back to this old rattle trap over here. Did a little bit of tint work on this with the scraps from doing the Volvo, but okay, so we got our new bolts here for the manifold to the downpipe. So let's get them put in. All right, we're gonna do the easy one first. I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure I had a electric powered wrench here. Okay. We don't want that torqued up too much because then we'll end up binding up on our other one here, which I think we may have already done. Yeah. I believe that's good. Looks like we're good clearance-wise down there. I was concerned about the bell housing in that pipe, but we should be good there. So now it's just a matter of throwing our U-bolts on here. So we're going to put these bolts on, and this is going to be a little bit of a self-explanatory thing. I don't know. All right, we got these cut down. Let's get them put in. What's the term for this? That's not going anywhere. Well, now the last bit here is this crankcase vent. Got to figure out what we're going to do with that. And then to make sure this actually fits over where our exhaust hole is. I did some rough maths, and it should be between these two holes for your hinge. Blow-by tube has been secured. All right, here's the moment of the truth. Let's see if this all lines up the way it should. That'd be helpful if I didn't have wrenches in the way. Okay. Well, I think we're gonna have some problems here. Okay, stand by. Hack. All right. All right, let's get this hood on. All right, I thought of one other problem we might have here. Let's see if this is gonna work or not. Yeah, I was worried about that. So, I can't think of a really good fix for this unless we redesign our exhaust. But I was kind of looking at this. So if we hook our hood prop up and just make a new notch there for it to sit in, that'll open the hood up enough that you can get in here, check your oil, you could change your fuel filter, you could bleed the injectors and everything you need to do in here. Because more than likely, if you're doing any more work than that, it's 2 bolts to pull the hood off. So I think we're gonna mark this and just put a notch in there and make the hood prop go there instead of over there. Look at that, nice and safe. All right, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a time lapse here. I'm gonna tint this front window on this machine. Figure I'll add this in with the video. All right, we'll take a minute here to explain what I just did. So cleanliness is key. Obviously, this is an old machine. I'm not super worried about it being perfect tint. Like this one here, I want it to be perfect because the machine's brand new. So, clean the inside of your window. The outside of your window, you want to get it clean, but it's not like it's got to be spick and span. The inside's got to be perfect because that's where your film is going to stick. So, clean the inside of the window, clean the outside of the window. Now, in that sprayer, it's not Armor All, it's soap and water. I use Dawn dish soap and warm water. You spray the window down, put your film on it, and then you go and you, as you saw, I trimmed the whole edges of it, and then you rough trim it and then go through and touch it up. This machine doesn't really have borders on the windows, so really you should be pretty precise, but like I said, we're not going for 100% perfection, we're just going for the look. So, now we're at that point. I peeled the film. Now, this is stuck to the outside of the glass. The tint doesn't go here. The tint goes on the inside of the glass. So I peeled the clear film off the sticky side of the tint, peeled it back, sprayed it with soap water. That way, when I get it inside the cab, I can peel it off easily, spray the top of the inside of the windshield with soap water, stick it, and then I could pull the backing off of it. That way, it's less chance of it getting stuck to somewhere else inside the machine. On the inside, spray everything with soap water. The sides, everything, because that prevents the film from sticking. Now, this can bite you because it can siphon the dust into the film, but we're not worried about that. So it just makes your life so much easier to have soap water on everything. You see the window seals are all soaped up. I'm going to spray this one more time before I bring the tint in. Like I said before, soap and water is cheap. The tint is aggravating. It sticks to stuff. Now you want to kind of get this film somewhat where you want it before you peel the backing off. Alright, so like I showed you before, we got this here peeled off. Try not to touch the film with your fingers. If you spray your fingers with soap and water, generally you can get away with it. You won't leave a fingerprint, but yeah, okay, so we take this up, get that put roughly where we want it, come around the back side, grab our backing. Okay, hang on. All right, we might have to stick this. So the squeegee pulls the water out from behind the film. That is a good way to get the film to stay in one spot so you don't have to hold it constantly. I may have overdone it with the soap water in this one, but it's okay. It'll all come out. Okay. Now, that soap water behind this film allows you to be able to move this whole sheet of tint, as you can see I'm doing here. Now, it looks like we're gonna have to trim this more, but that's okay. Got to be careful you don't let the film touch itself. Kind of like duct tape, it doesn't come apart again. So, alright, we got that out. Let's get this tucked in there. Okay, I'll get the film set where we want it. With this one, we got this bump out around the wiper motor, so that's going to be kind of where we want to focus and work on everything first. Because we gotta get that set just right. Otherwise you'll see the light gap. Okay, there we go. Got that. Got that. Alright, and now we can just start kind of setting in spots. You know, the idea is you work the water out of it, just like you're trying to squeegee water off a window. You work the water out, and it'll stick. Now over here we got a little bit too much tint film, but that's okay. This here we got too much on this side, okay too. I'm just trying to get it set, and we can trim it up then once it's stuck. Looks like we got a little bit too much around the wiper motor too. Gotta stretch it. Nope, we're not gonna get that, I guess. I guess we're gonna have to live with that little bit of a light mark down there. That's what it is. Win some, you lose some. We're working all this down to the edge here. Basically, there you have it. I mean, I gotta do a little bit of cleanup down the bottom, but look at that. All tinted out. She looks a little bit darker than it actually is. This is 15% tint. And it looks like you can't see in there. It's only because all the windows are done like this, but it's really not that bad. As you can see, you can still see out just fine. So, but it definitely makes it look cooler. And we really aren't going to be running a whole lot at night. And if we are, you see in the bright lights we got on it. So the next part here, we're going to be working on taking this coupler off and this manual thumb off. Probably gonna sell this thumb off, but I have no reason to use this. You okay, dog? Oh, you're good. Anyway, yeah, so I really have no reason to keep this thumb. I'm gonna put a hydraulic thumb on it. So this gives you the basic idea how this is gonna work. I'm not gonna run them pins in there because they're pretty tight. I think I'm gonna try and clean those bores up a little bit with a wire wheel. Maybe a flap disc, I'm not sure. And then its next step's going to be to cut all of these welds that somebody's pretty proud of because they signed their name with a welder. Well, call me what you want. I gave up. It just wasn't worth compromising the boom by getting into it too much. And I mean, if I had an air arc, I could have cut that weld out a little bit better, but doing it with a wafer wheel is just like, that's a lost cause, and it's too risky doing it with the oxyacetylene torch. Plus, honestly, I don't mind having the extra strength in the boom there. So what we'll do is we'll clean all that up, and I'll re-weld all that. Maybe just go over it. Alright, we covered up our mistake here. Got that all welded up. Both sides. It's not structural, it's just more of a preference thing, and I want it to look better. So, okay, next step. Coupler. And we got our bushing material here. Oh yeah. Look at this. I don't know if I can do this one-handed, but we're gonna give her a whack. Oh yeah. I think. Oh, nope. We need to go a little bit more. There we go. Look at that. Alright. time to get rid of this sloppy coupler. So we're gonna pull the pins, drop this Wainwright coupler, and see what it's gonna take to fit up the Kubota style coupler. So let's get her fired up, get the pressure off it, and get these pins off. Same story with these as the other pins in the machine. You got this little locking clip here, and try to get this off without totally crushing or snapping it on your fingers. It's always a preferred method. Well, I guess you can shoot across the shop too. And pull the pin out. Alright, the closest I could get was these two pieces of DOM tubing. We got 60 mil on the outside of this one, which will fit perfectly inside the Kubota coupler. And the inside of this one is going to be 45 mil or 1 3/4 inch, which is the size pin that I'm going to make. I already have some cold rolled steel for a pin. Now I don't have a lathe, so I've been kind of just sanding these a little bit with this air grinder here. And I got it to the point where if you heat this up, this will slide in there nicely. Alright, it's a little bit bootleg, but it will work. So we got our power drive here, hooked to our drive coupler, to our workpiece, and this is our brace. We got a couple different speeds, and here's our cutter. So we're going to try and somewhat accurately take this down a couple thousandths of an inch. I think I'm going to do most of it before I cut my pieces out of it, because I think it's going to be easier to actually machine this down as a whole piece than as a separate little piece. Well, I'm not a machinist, but I'm going to call that pretty good for what we got to do here and with working with what I got. I wish I had a lathe, and I wish I knew more about machining and all that stuff, but I was never exposed to it. I was never around it. Maybe someday I'll get an old lathe and try and learn some stuff about it, but I don't know. However, on the flip side, we made a lot of metal dust. But anyway, so we got our bushings. These ones are going to be for the front one, for the main pin that the thumb rides on. These ones for the back one. The only thing we got to do now is we got to make our custom pins, which, like I said, I do have 45 mil 1 3/4 cold rolled pin steel that I would use for this. I have it for building pins for all my end con attachments. So we got that already. We'll just figure out what size we need, cut them to size, and we should be good to put this together. So this is roughly how it's going to lay out. The stick of the machine will be right here. The coupler will ride here and here, and the thumb rides out here. go. That'll give us our 1 3/4 inch inside there. We should be in good shape now. Alright, well here's the new setup. Bucket and thumb off my KX80 from when I put the tilt rotator on. I never knew what I was going to do with it, but I kept it around, and I mean it shows it hadn't been in the dirt in a while, but I think it's going to fit this machine just fine. I was kind of debating on how I want to do this, but kind of thinking the easiest way to make this work is to put the coupler on the bucket first and run the pins through as if you're putting in an old-time bucket where you don't have a quick coupler. Because the problem is, the way this setup works is you need to run the pin through the thumb, through the coupler, through the stick, back through the coupler, and out through the other side of the thumb. It's going to be kind of cantankerous to do on your own. So I think this might be the best way to do it. Ready to go dig. Do the heavy lifting and hopefully try and get this lined up. Don't lose any fingers in the process. Alright, that wasn't too bad. This side went in pretty easy since that one was lined already. And we got the pin, it slides all the way through here nicely. Alright, we got this plate here that we got cut out. And then I figured out I got some 1/2 inch steel here we're going to mark out and cut out for our spacers. So we'll get this all cut out. Time has come to make these two one piece. Well, it's actually 3 pieces, but never mind that. Well, it was a bit of a fight. I didn't really get most, if any, of it on camera. But all the bushings, all the pins are in, and it's tighter than it was with the old bucket on. So the way the Kubota style is, it doesn't get any pins in here because this pivots on the pin. I think I might weld a plate or something around this just because if this spreads, but I don't know, it didn't have that from factory. What we do need to do is we need to drill this roll pin out and put another one in there because that does keep the pin from spinning. As well as I want to drill in probably here a grease fitting because the original pin on the machine was greasable. Kubota has a actual fitting that greases that joint, so we're gonna have to do something there. I don't know if it's gonna be here. That's kind of a vulnerable spot, or back here. Back here might be a good spot if we put a 90-degree fitting. That might be pretty safe. I have the piece cut for here to use this factory pin there, and other than that, this is in good shape. So I need to get a cylinder for it because I did actually bend or break the cylinder was on this. I never bothered replacing it because I got the tilt rotator shortly after. So I'm going to order a cylinder for it and we'll get that plumbed up and we will basically be done with this machine. Okay, we got a mess of hydraulic fittings here. So, I guess let's get to plumbing. What are you doing with that? Well, while we're on the trend of unboxing stuff here, we got our thumb cylinder. This thing is heavy. Oh look, not one, but 2 catalogs. So this cylinder is not the exact fit for the Kubota thumb. The Kubota thumb cylinder that I had snapped, and that's why the thumb is off the Kubota. But so what we're going to do is, well, first let's say a new Kubota cylinder is considerably more expensive than any other cylinder you're going to find. It's about $2,200–2,300, which is absolutely ridiculous. I think this one cost me $175. So this end is wrong, but this cylinder is actually quite long. It's long enough that I'm gonna cut this, extend the cylinder as much as I can, cut this and weld the actual Kubota end onto here. So we'll see how that goes. That should be interesting. I've never done that before. So I have a whole lot of steps I need to do here, and I could explain every single step I'm gonna do here, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some of this on a time lapse, and then when I'm all done, I'll explain to you guys how we did this and why we did it. So sit back and enjoy. Alright, real simple. So this is our input line from the auxiliary hydraulic circuit. Runs into this 2-way or 3-way valve. When it's in the down position, it runs to this quick connect. When it's in the up position, it runs to this port, which is going to run to our thumb lines. So this way you can switch back and forth really easily. So if you want to run a hammer, or like I said, I want to run my auger on this with the cone splitter attachment, so that way I can just flip it down, leave the thumb up. I'll probably make some sort of way to pin the thumb up so it can't drift. But realistically, it's not a big deal if it does, because all you gotta do is get out of the cab, flip the lever, suck it back up. By the way, this will enable you to use attachments without disconnecting the thumb, which from previous experience, I know in the Bobcats, the older ones, you had to disconnect your thumb lines to run an attachment, and the thumb builds up more pressure than you think, and it can be pretty difficult to get those lines hooked and unhooked. So this will eliminate that. And yeah, so the other side, I'm going to do it exactly the same way. Just gonna have a male fitting here, so we'll get that done quick. All right, let me briefly explain what we got going on here. So back here, we're going to make the valve that switches from 1-way to 2-way hydraulics. So this is our feed to the boom on the cab side. This is hot all the time for 1-way hydraulics. We aren't touching that. This would be our 2-way hydraulics from the other side of that control valve in the cab, the floor valve for the auxiliary. This one's currently capped off because the machine's in 1-way hydraulics right now. We're going to use this to run into this side of this other switch. This port is going to go out onto the boom. This port goes back to the tank. So the way it's set up right now, it would be in 1-way hydraulics. When you switch it over to this way, it's going to use that capped off port, and it's going to run it through here out our other boom line. So you'll switch it like this if you want to run a thumb or an auger or whatever sort of 2-way hydraulic attachment you have. And when you want to run a hammer, you run over this way and it'll run through the hammer line. I got holes marked out here. I'm going to drill holes so you can mount this in here just like that. And that's basically it. So I should be able to get you guys a good enough view here, see what's going on. So we'll set you on a time lapse and we'll get her done. All right, a little snag here. I thought this was a straight 3/4 fitting. It's actually a JIC, number 12 JIC. Anyway, fortunately I had one here. I just had to do a little bit of adapting here. So, but anyway, that's good there. So we can run that in there where that's supposed to be. All right, there we go. Everything on our boom is plumbed up. So now the next step would be to figure out our thumb cylinder and mounting situation. The main thing for me is I want this thumb to tuck nice against the boom. So I guess we put it in the fully retracted position and then fold the thumb up. That'll tell us where our bracket's gotta be. Alright, so here's the new cylinder all extended. Here's the end of the old cylinder that I need to make work on the end of here. Not bad. Alright, we got this piece all notched out. It's not even, but it's like that for a reason. I didn't want to get too close to this grease channel. Got our rod cut and notched, so when you put it on there, everything lines up nice. There's a nice tight gap there. So I'll be able to make this, I mean it's hard to tell on camera, but I'll be able to true this up perfectly, get it tacked in there and buzzed in nice and good. Alright, we got it tacked on there. Next step, I want to fit up the bracket, make the bracket and fit it up to the boom so we can test fit all this, make sure everything's going to function right, and then we'll weld that up solid. Alright, here's the mock-up. We got our brackets in place, and we got our collars there, the pins through. I got our lines on temporarily. I mean, they're not tight, so when we get that all welded in, we'll tighten them up better. I got it marked out, so we just gotta grind the boom, pull this off, put it back, we'll tack it in place, and then we can actually test the functionality of this, make sure everything's good before we start welding stuff solid. Oh, jeez. Alright, so I actually plan on doing it this way, but this should work out okay. Should be able to do all the cylinder end welding right now, like this. So let me get some stuff to make sure we can keep that chrome cool, and we'll get to welding. So my thoughts here, I got the zip ties here. If they start to melt, that means we're getting too hot, but this rag's soaked with cool water. It's wrapped around 3-4 times, so that should help keep this tempered. And we might have to do this a couple different shots at a time, because I want to make sure we don't get this chrome too hot. Yeah, so because I'm curious, and you know, that's Celsius. It's gonna be hard to get on the chrome, but I mean, we're at 200 degrees there. That's novel. All right, if we look right here, hydraulic chrome plating, also known as hard chrome plating, can typically withstand temperatures ranging from -400 degrees to 1300 degrees Fahrenheit. So 1300 degrees, we are nowhere near that. Check it out. We're all good there. Got that all welded up. All good up here. Got that welded up and painted up. The only things left to do now is I want to put some sort of stop here. So when the thumb comes up, when it comes up to here, it will not put the load on the cylinder. It'll be loading on the boom. So what we got here is we got this gap. It's about 1 inch. And the thumb's kind of, yeah, you can see the thumb's got a little bit of wiggle in it. And if you push on that too hard, it could push the thumb into the cylinder. So I found this piece of steel. I'm not really sure what it's from. It's gonna be a little wider in the boom. We'll cut it down. But it's about the perfect size to make a stop out of. Got our grease fitting tapped in, facing backwards. And built this little shelter for it. Don't worry about the ugly looking weld. Forgot to turn the gas on. But anyway, that's pretty protected there. So, should be good to go. Well, I'm not sure what else there is to fix on this. I'm sure we could keep going on it, but this machine's been in the shop for, feels like it's been in here for 3 months. But I'd say it's been in here for a month, a solid month, if not a little more. We've done a lot of stuff to it, so it's time for it to go outdoors. See, the weather's not very nice today, so I think we're gonna wait for a nicer day to go and test it out. But here it is. It's at the shop. It's all fixed. Can't wait to go and do something with it. This old girl don't have foot pedals in her, but I'll show you here real quick. The pedals are close enough together that if you got a big enough, flat enough foot, you can ride both pedals with one foot. If you're really good, you can steer too. However, it only works if you're going forward. Okay, so up here is the offending pile. This is what we gotta sort through. So like, this one's still got a stump on it. Otherwise it's pretty clear. It's kind of hard to tell, they're all covered in snow, but I know what I put here, and I put here everything that needs to kind of be gone through. So like if it's got any weird crooks in it, any limbs sticking out, basically you want it to be as straight as possible to run through the processor. You can run stuff that's bent and got a little bit of curves to it. It's not a big deal, it's just quicker to do straight wood. So if I can go through, cut all these little notches out and whatever, make it much better and easier, that's what we're gonna do. I guess she don't want to hang around. Anyway, got our saw, brought the truck up. It's behind the 70 there. I left it running with the door open in case Marley wants to go jump in the truck. At least it's warm in there. So let's grab the machine, start sorting these out, see what we need to do. So weird. run the machine with the controls out front like a backhoe. So I don't know if I ever showed it or not, but the first excavator I really spent any time on was an old Komatsu as my dad's, and I still have it here, and I plan to restore it one day. But so that had controls out front just like this. So I'm used to running that, but that always had a manual thumb. So my whole childhood we were doing firewood with a manual thumb and an excavator set up just like this. So I just keep forgetting that I have the option that I can move that thumb on this machine, and it works pretty nice. But yeah, so this isn't going too bad. The one thing you gotta be really careful of, and I'll show you here in a second, whenever you're using a thumb moving logs, and this is a very common mistake that people that are inexperienced do, or sometimes you do it just because you have to. But if you don't grab that log perfectly square, you'll break that main pin on the boom where the bucket connects. And I've seen plenty of Kubota couplers broken there because of that reason. Like, they're not meant to take that side loading of grabbing a log and forcing that log straight. So I'll show you what not to do in here a little bit. But with this, I don't think we'll ever break it, but it's just something to be mindful of. Oh look, a tennis ball. So let's get this trimmed up and keep it going. All right, this is the situation I was trying to explain just before here. So you see how the log is on this angle, but the bucket's on this angle? Now this won't hurt the machine because the ground's hard, slippery, whatever. But I'll show you what happens when you grab a hold of this log. Marley, you probably don't want to stand there. All right, so we're gonna back up a little bit. But, all right, so I got my thumb down like that, and you go and we grab a bite of this log, and what it wants to do, see how it wants to pivot like that? Now, in this case, I knew what the log was going to do, so I picked the boom up while it was pivoting, no problem. But if for some reason that log, you're in a rush, you're ramming around, and that log catches a stump while you're pinching it at full speed, it's going to side load that main boom pin and your thumb pin, and I've seen them break. So just be mindful of that. Alright, well that's going to pretty much wrap up the video on this here 70 excavator. You've seen us unload it off the trailer, fix it up, fix all the hydraulics on it, put a coupler on it, put a thumb. I've got some more plans for it, but I know this video is getting long. To be honest with you, I'm probably going to break this into 2 parts, I think. But like I said, if you want to see more of this machine, I'll gladly film more stuff of it. I don't film probably 95% of stuff I do in a day-to-day life because, you know, it's just, for me, it's just every day. But, you know, some of this stuff, I guess it'd be kind of cool if you never did it before. But, yeah, this machine's, it's working well. I mean, as far as I can tell, there's no leaks I see. It's, now that all the snow and all the ice is melted off of it, it stopped dripping, and there's no other extra drips, and there's no different colored snow on the ground. So I think we got our lick there. The thumb's working good. I haven't tested the auxiliary valve thing I did, but I don't see a reason why it wouldn't work. So Like I said, this machine's basically going to live up on this property here, and eventually I'd like to get a hammer for it, so if we get any rock or concrete demo jobs, we don't have to use one of the other machines to hammer, we can just use this one. Who knows? Eventually put AC in it? I don't know, because part of the reason I got this machine is to run my dirt screen. And you don't run a dirt screen when it's cold, so it would be nice to have AC, keep the dust down and everything. But I want to thank you guys for watching. You know, we just passed 5,000 subscribers not long ago, and to be honest with you, I mean, I never really thought we'd get that far, but thank you. So, all right, we will catch you on the next one.